Okay. It's looking better now. So thanks everyone for joining us. Sorry, we had a bit of a hiccup at the start, but I think it's all good now. Just want to welcome Fiona Palmer. Thanks so much for joining us. So Fiona, I said originally was a speedway driver, but she's just informed me she's got back into it again. So has been doing speedway for a while, it sounds like. And she spends her day both writing women's and young adult fiction and working as a farmhand and caring for her two children in the tiny rural community of Pingarring, 350 kilometres from Perth. The books Fiona's passionate readers know and love contain engaging storylines, emotions, and hardy characters. Her novels are consistently top 10 national bestsellers, and her latest novel is The Long Weekend, which I'm showing a copy there. And just want to say I recently finished reading The Long Weekend, I think yesterday, and absolutely loved it. Loved the characters and the relationships and the twists and turns and secrets in the book. And it was the first of your books that I've read, and it was a 5-star read for me. So really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Jackie. That's awesome. I love getting feedback about the books. Helps me to write more.
Yeah. And just wondering if you want to start off by telling, I was going to add as well, thanks to Hatchet, anyone watching, if you've got a question for Fiona, please type it in comments and you'll have a chance to win a copy of The Long Weekend. So, Fiona, do you want to start off by telling us a bit about The Long Weekend?
Yep. Shall I read the blurb out? How's that sound?
Sounds good.
So, coming together for a writing workshop with best-selling author Jan Goldstein, 4 strangers converge upon a luxury forest retreat, but along with their notepads and laptops, has each of the participants brought some emotional baggage. So Beth is a solo parent and busy career woman, haunted by a tragic car accident. Then you have Simone, the youngest at 26, is a successful Instagram star, but she's hiding behind a facade. Jamie is the only man, a handsome personal trainer, but he looks out of place with a pen in his hand. And finally, Alice is a wife and mum recovering from postnatal depression. She and Jamie soon realise that they are not such perfect strangers after all. Only one thing is for sure, on this creative getaway, nothing will go according to script. So it was a lot of fun to write this one.
Yeah. So a writer's retreat.
Yes.
Have you been on a writer's retreat before yourself?
I've not been on one with an author. I mean, like, you know, because how I got into writing, like it was so sudden. So I have not been to you know, master classes or anything like that. But I do go on writers' sort of retreats where I get together with my author friends and we go off down south. And we were actually on one when this story came together. We sit around, we drink, we eat, you know, lots of cheese and crackers and all things yummy. And then we just talk all things books, about our characters, about ideas. And it is so good. And it was while at one of these retreats in Dunsborough, that this story came together. And that's also why the book is dedicated to Rachel and Anthea, because those two really helped feel my creative well again, because I was sort of at a point where I was like, I had no ideas and I was starting to stress and I was starting to think that I wasn't going to keep writing. And then, that weekend changed everything. So
that's that's a good story behind the book.
Yeah.
Have you had anything quite as exciting and interesting happen on your writer's retreats is.
We talk about everything. Like we're authors. We know how to kill people off and make people's lives very, very hard. So we often, always throw around plenty of ideas, and we each discuss each other's next book, and we'll throw ideas at them as well. So three heads is better than one. And I think if anyone's aspiring to be a writer, to try and find your writing village, and it just helps fill the creative well. I don't think I would have done it on my own. Having those skills help me through the whole writing process has been so invaluable.
And we've got a few people watching and some questions coming through, which is great. Wendy says you sound like you're a very busy lady. How do you fit everything in?
I always have, that old saying, if you want something done, find a busy person. And so the busier I am, the more I get done. So I find that if I go and do the farm work during the day and I come back and I write at night, it works better. I can spend a whole day at home and really, really struggle to get 2,000 words done. But if I go away to work and come home, I can get 2,000 words done from like 7:30 till 11 at night, easy, or even in less time. So I used to take time off to write from my farm job, but now I think, you know what, they actually work better if I just do it all. But I'm very planned and organised. I have a set target to get to every day and a set target for the week. So if I'm called away to pick up the kids from boarding school or something happens, they have appointments and I can't get any words done that day, then those 2,000 words tack on to the rest of the week. So I have to make that up through the next day. So I try to be very organised.
So does that, when you start to write, do you plan everything all out before you start and know the ending? You do?
I'm very much a planner. Like I can't start writing unless I know how the start, middle and end is going to be. I need to have it right in my head. So I will, if I'm in the tractor or the header, I will constantly try to think through what's going to happen, who my characters are going to be. And it's not until I know roughly all the little bits can I then write my sort of synopsis per se, which could be 5 to 7 pages describing what's going to happen in the book. And then when I've got that, I can then start from chapter 1 and work my way through.
And does that ever change?
Yeah, it does, because you could be a quarter of the way through, halfway through, and a character might change on you. Sometimes they grow themselves and no, we're going to go do this, or another idea comes forth either through my research or just through thinking about it. And you might just think, oh no, this would work way better if this happened instead. So I'm happy for things to change, but to start I do need that whole plan, basically, the bare bones at least.
And Kim wonders where you get the inspiration for all your characters.
Everywhere from talking to people. I also borrow a lot of stories. People, I'll hear little conversations, especially from some of the locals with my rural stories. There was little bits that happened, and I'd be like, oh, that's good to put in. And sometimes it's through reading the local newspaper. I read an eulogy, a local guy, and I rang up the parents and said, can I write his story? So I used that. My friend had a POW on their farm, and when I went to Italy, I went looking for him and used all that as a part of my book. So you never know where it comes from. One, what was it? Sisters and Brothers, that came from a story I read online, and then it turned out to be fake news, but by then I already had this whole story created. So it doesn't really matter. You never know what's going to start a story idea.
And Belinda wonders if you've had a favourite character to write.
In this book or all of them?
Both, probably. Let us know
But,
both. Yeah.
I think in the Sunburnt Country, I wrote about Johnny, and she was kind of my favourite character. I think she was who I wanted to be. She was the mechanic, owned her own business, and raced to Tirana in speedway.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, and that was kind of like, oh, I wish that could be me. But in this one, I think Beth was my favourite, just to begin with. You know, she was beautiful even with these scars and stuff. But Simone was the curly one. I started writing Simone, and I did not like her. I just thought, ugh, I don't like this character. By the end of the book, she's one of my favourites.
She warms to you later on, doesn't she?
Yeah, and that just goes to show you really don't know what people are dealing with. You know, just from that you can judge so quickly without learning about what makes a person tick, and so that was interesting to explore.
Yeah. And Sharon wonders what genre you like to read, and if you've read anything lately you want to recommend to us.
I think my favourite is YA. Like I have my own YA series which I love, and it's my mum's most favourite books out of all my books. I think she's read them 10 times. So that's a huge favourite, sort of based loosely on a true story. And so I love to read YA. Sarah J. Maas, you know, I like everything she writes as well. But I also love reading rules. Like I just finished reading Rachel John's Outback Secrets.
Oh yes, yeah.
Plug for my best mate there, but I do love these stories. I'm a sucker for romance, so that's what I love to read. That's what I love to write. Happy endings. But I've also just recently read Michael Tramp's new one, comes out next month. And I've got a mental blank on what it was called. Wild Dogs, I think, and that was awesome as well.
Yeah.
So, and I've got this new one to read, which looks really interesting. Wake, it's a new one coming out soon. So I've got an advanced reading copy of that. Yeah, I think that should be good.
Who was that one by, the last one you showed?
That was by Shelley Burr.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a Australian crime debut author.
Okay. Thanks for those recommendations.
No worries.
Just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you first got published.
Yeah, so it's one of those amazing stories, really, because being an author was never on my radar. And, you know, I left school after year 11. I was terrible at English and maths. I had a very literary focused teacher. So the fact that I couldn't spell or my grammar was awful, that was it. Yet I loved writing stories. I loved telling stories. I mean, I'm from the country and, you know, we always tell yarns. And so I've always enjoyed doing that. As a kid, I used to sit in my room and write little heartfelt things about my parents or my brother and things like that. So I think I was kind of already doing a bit of what Jan gets them to do at the retreat. So I think I've always been a bit of a storyteller. Anyway, one day I was busy. I was running the local shop with my mum in a partnership, and I had a baby and a toddler, and I had no time to read. But I started creating a story in my mind, which became The Family Farm. And it really was everything I loved, so many of my experiences, everything to do about country living, having a small community, just our way of life. You know, I absolutely love it out there. I still live there in a little 4-house town in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, I started just writing this, and I'd been to college, so I'd learned how to touch type. So if I had 15 minutes, half an hour between screaming kids and people coming to the shop, I'd just write out a little paragraph. And it took 3 years, but I ended up with sort of a finished book, and had friends and family read it and say, this is really good, are you going to get it published? And I'm like, oh, I guess I could try. And found the Australian Society of Authors, because I Googled, because like I had no one else to ask, had no idea. And Google sort of brought up this mentorship competition that the ASA were running. So I entered that and won a spot out of 200 people. So I worked with a published author, and they helped me set out my manuscript, because I had no idea. So, you know, you need indenting and paragraphing and double spacing. And then I got a lot of teacher friends to read it and critique it. My auntie sent me Rachel Treasure's Jillaroo, and because she said, this is like your book. And I read that and went, holy, yes, it is. It's great. Like, why aren't there more books like this out there? And saw she was published by Penguin. So I wrote them a letter and sent off the first 3 chapters to their slush pile. I didn't have an agent, but I thought, what have I got to lose? And then they sent an email and said it had made its way to Ali Watts's desk, the publisher there, and could I send the rest? Then her next email was saying she loved it. And then the email after that was an offer of contract.
Oh,
so
wow.
literally fell into
it is a dream
yeah,
run.
I think it was right genre, right time, just very lucky. And it became a career. So it still surprises me 16, 17 books later.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty amazing story as well. Not many writers have probably had quite as much luck.
No, I have friends, you know, that wrote a heap of books before they even sort of got published, or, you know, they dreamed of being writers since kids, and it just was never something that crossed my mind. I loved storytelling, and I loved reading and watching movies, and just wrote. I guess people say, how do you write a story? And I don't know. To me, it comes organically. I know from reading books that, you know, got to have conflict. If I'm getting bored, then the reader's going to get bored. So yeah.
So apart from like your English teacher at high school, you never really had any formal training after that?
No, none at all. It was just really going off how I'd read books, you know, and just going by feel.
No, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And going back to the long weekend, could you tell us what sort of research you did for that?
Yeah, there's always research in all books. My favourite, of course, being the Sunnyvale Girls, and I got to go to Italy. Best trip ever. But, you know, I guess going on my own author's retreat was easy enough to sort of write about. But, you know, there's research in everyone's background and in the little bits. Probably not so, you know, research into postnatal depression, because you want to, sometimes you research so much just for one sentence, because you need to understand it before you can put in whatever little bit. And it's like my next book, The Wrong Sister, comes out in December. That one, I had to research certain diseases and stuff. And so you can end up spending a lot of time on research.
And you mentioned your next book that's coming out in December. What are you able to tell us about that?
Okay, that one starts off, it's set in Albany in WA. Beautiful, coastal, lovely place. Then it ends up going to Mount Magnet, onto a cattle station, and a bit of mustering. And then the rest of the book's set at Carragini. So there's 2 sisters and their brother's girlfriend, and it's told from their point of views. And they meet up at Carragini for a bit of a girls' trip with partners in tow, but all sorts of stuff happens. And there's lots of secrets, and there's lots of family drama.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And have you found more recent, like you've been publishing a book a year?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I was doing a book a year, but when I wrote my young adult series, I was writing 2 books a year. So I'd write my mainstream book as well as my young adult. So that was 4 years of 2 books a year.
Wow, yeah. And the more you write, are you finding it comes easier, or is it harder?
It's harder, more stressful. I think as authors, we put so much pressure on ourselves. One, we want to keep, you know, our publishers happy, because if your book starts dropping in sales, you know, you've got that chance of not getting another contract and having no more books out there. So you put pressure on yourselves to be better than the last book, to have a new storyline that is not like all your other books. And it can be very stressful. And I think I'm lucky to have a second job to go to that can give me a break from all that stress.
And do you read your reviews?
I do. Like, say the first week when the book comes out, you have to, because you've got no idea if it's any good or not. Because with read it that many times, to us it's kind of boring and slow, and we know it inside and out. So you're hanging out for those first couple of reviews to hope they're okay, and then I tend to not look just in case there's a bad one. So yeah.
And what can you tell us about your speedway?
Gosh, well, that's something that I've done since I was little. I was in a go-kart when I was little, being out in the country, you know, we're always in cars. Was in a car the moment I could reach the pedals, and then I grew up with my dad and my granddad both racing speedway. So when I was 16, Dad got me a car. Then I went up to like productions and raced with the men for about 6-7 years until I was pregnant with my daughter. And quite a few years ago, we got both my kids into it, and then I got back into it. So my dad and myself and my son still race. This year we'll all get to race together, so that'll be very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And Sharon wonders if you have much input into the titles and covers.
Oh, I'd like to say I do, but every title I come up with, nobody likes it. I have really bad luck trying to come up with a title. Some people are brilliant at it. Rachel Johns is brilliant at coming up with titles, just not me. And as for the cover, like they will say, what do you see as a cover for your story? And they always ask, and I send them ideas as well as photos. And I actually sent them this photo.
Oh, really? And it looks quite stunning.
When they said, oh, we've got a cover for you, and they sent it back, and I was like, oh, wow, it's this one. And they just put that stack of books in there as well. So, and I thought, it's a great photo. And I just think, where else would you want to sit and read, just by the beach? I wouldn't want some cushions on those chairs if I was going to sit there all day reading, but yeah, it's a great cover. I love this one.
Yeah, it is. And I love the sunset in the back. And
yeah, and it does. It could be down south, you know, down in Dunsborough as well. So it suited the book.
And could you tell us what for you a successful writer means?
Gosh, I don't know, because there's days where I don't think I'm successful. You know, I don't think I'm there. So I think we all sort of don't see ourselves as successful as we should be, could be. But really, I think having a book out there is pretty good, is pretty successful. So not that I get to see it in the shops, because there's no bookstores near my place.
And you probably haven't been able to travel around for much promotion recently.
No,
either.
And that's hard. You know, sales haven't been great with COVID, because no one can get into the stores. So I'm hoping everyone's sort of either reading on Kindles or ordering, you know, trying to support their bookshops through ordering from them and getting it sent out, or bits and pieces. But yeah, hopefully everyone still reads.
Yeah. And what have you found so far as the most difficult part of your writing process?
Probably the pressure you put yourself under. So it's okay sort of getting the idea and then you're writing it. And I think the hardest, most soul-destroying part of it is when you get those first edits back. You send it off to your publisher and you have no nails left, because you are hoping they like it, hoping they think they can work with it, and you get the edits back and you're just devastated usually, because there's so many changes you've got to do and bits and pieces. But you know, you give it a week and you read through it a few times and you start the edits and you realise it's not as bad as you first thought. And but yeah, that can be a very horrible week.
Yeah. And do you have a favourite snack or drink when you're writing?
Yes, I love to have a coffee, and I'm probably a Tim Tam. So which is really bad, because if I'm at home writing, I can spend all day having coffees and then think I've got to have another Tim Tam. So it is really bad. Well, yes, I procrastinate a lot.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for chatting to me. It's been great talking to you. And I'm really looking forward to reading more of your books.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Just wondering if you want to let people know how they can keep in touch with you.
Yeah, well, I'm on everything, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. But my Facebook page is probably the one I engage with readers the most, because there's so many there. So I'll often go there first to put up any new stories about my books or recommend any books from other authors or, you know, bits and pieces. So yeah, definitely jump on. It's the Fiona Palmer with the blue tick, so it should be easy enough to find.
Well, thanks so much, and thanks to everyone who joined in and asked some questions.
Awesome. Yes, thank you all, and have a great night.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.